Hi everyone, welcome to Cupboard Creations. My name's Gareth and this is my little corner of the internet where I get to play around with my food a bit and try and share it with a few people. Today I'm just going to take you through a recipe, we're calling it Squid Provencal, which is an old dish that's been around for hundreds of years. This is my take on it. It's not going to be exactly the same as it would be if you went to a full-on French or Italian kind of restaurant and you saw something like this. It's going to be a bit easier. It's something we can easily put together at home. The inspiration for this really came from, I used to, every Friday night when I was living at home before I got a career and moved out, myself and my stepmother used to spend Fridays basically having a couple of glasses of wine and doing a bit of cooking. And this was one of the meals I'll always remember. It was really fun, it had a lot of taste to it. Sadly I could never find a recipe again. So I came up with mine, and we're going to take you through that one today, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. First of all, we're going to start off with just cutting up a few of our ingredients to get ourselves started. We need 4 rashers of streaky bacon, and we'll just chop them up into fairly small pieces, like the size of the end of your thumb. Okay, now my bacon's done. Just put those in there already. Turn our attention to the onions. Yes, unlike on TV, I am chopping it all on the same board because it's all going to get cooked. Onions, fairly simple. Use half an onion for this, unless of course your supermarket is doing ones this size, which are very, very, very small. So I'm going to use a whole one in this. So we're just going to take off that end. Slice it towards the root and then chop it. Okay. Onions done. Now we want 2 cloves of garlic. Now, a simple way that I found of actually getting the skin off of these, because it can be a bit of a nightmare to peel, whack it on the side, get a decent heavy bladed knife, put it on top, push down, and then your skin comes away super easy. Then we just want to chop both of these up really small because you don't want large lumps of garlic going through it. The very last thing, to get ourselves ahead of time, some tomatoes. Now I'm using 3 plum tomatoes for this, and I'm going to use 200 ml of water to go with it. Instead of that, you can just use a tin of chopped tomatoes or a tin of plum tomatoes. It'll work just as well. I just had these available in the fridge and thought, let's try and do it with some fresh. It's nice if you can, but it won't make a massive difference to the meal. It will be beautiful regardless. So we're just going to chop these up fairly roughly. We don't need to worry too much because they're going to cook down in the stew. Okay, that's all the ingredients that we need to start this off all done. So now I'll take you over to the hob and we'll see how things are put together. Brilliant. Okay, so we're now all prepped. I'm going to turn our frying pan on. Start getting that up to temperature. Not a massive boil, a kind of a medium heat. Then we're just going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. Once that's up to temperature, we're going to add in our bacon, chopped bacon, to the pan. Okay, so the bacon's now sizzling away in the pan. We're going to cook that for about 3 or 4 minutes, just until it's nice and caramelised. And then we'll start adding in our other ingredients. So the bacon's now nicely crisped up. I don't know if you can see that. But it's not got to the burnt point. It's like the perfect bacon butty type level. What we're going to do is turn down our pan to very low and add in the onions. raw onion. That one bounced straight out. Okay, if like this, the pan's still a bit too hot, just take it off the heat for a couple of seconds and let it cool. You don't want the onions to be caramelised, you're just going to soften them with the bacon in the pan. And then, once it's cooled down, back on the heat, it's really low. And we're just going to leave that for about 5 minutes, just to let those onions sweat down. I'll see you back in 5. Now our onions are nice and soft. Easiest way to tell is just get one, and if you can push your spatula right through the onion without almost any resistance, they're nice and soft and they haven't coloured too much. So all we're going to do now is add the garlic. Now the reason I add the garlic now is there's loads of recipes out there that I've tried where they tell you to put the onions and the garlic in at the same time. That's never worked for me. All I end up with is soft onions, burnt garlic. Probably my pans, I don't have the super professional ones, but this just works for me. So I'm going to leave the garlic in there for another 2 minutes. It means the onions won't go too far and the garlic will soften down. And then I'll come back to you. Okay, so now my garlic is nicely softened. Last thing we're going to do here is we're going to add in our chopped tomatoes and 200 ml of cold water. If you're using a tin of chopped tomatoes or a tin of plum tomatoes, I'd say just use like half a can of cold water to put in, because this is a stew, yes, you want it quite loose. So we'll just give that a quick stir around, and then what we'll do, bring that to the boil, cover it and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. Just we want those flavours to really deepen up. That's simmering away nicely now, so we're just going to add a couple of turns of pepper. I like quite a lot of black pepper in mine. A bit more. To be honest, it's not that much. It's that with these things with the metal bottoms, all the steam from that just stops the thing working. So that's probably only about 3 turns. And then we're just going to add a pinch of salt. A bit more. If you're using like the sea salt flakes, you can add a bit more. They're not quite as strong as your standard salts. And they just have great flavour. So now that's going away, turn that down, lid on, and we're going to let that simmer away for 15 minutes, maybe 20, see how it goes. Okay, that's been bubbling away now for 15 minutes. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that's good. So we've got a nice sort of tomatoey sauce there. Going to just uncover it. Keep it quite low, might need to turn it up a little bit just to keep the simmer on. And then we're going to bubble that away uncovered for about another 10 minutes, just to reduce down that liquid, so we get a nice, more soupy consistency. While that's doing, I'll take you over to the prep portion and we can go through the last bits of the squid. Okay, so that's bubbling away behind us. What we're going to do now is take our squid. Now what I'm using here is frozen squid from the supermarket. You can use fresh squid if you can get it, but I find it pretty hard to come by, especially in my area. And this stuff works perfectly. It makes it nice and easy. It's always in the freezer. Take it out, defrost it. And I've got 4 little tubes here, about that size. All we're going to do, pat and squeeze dry. So now you've got 2 ways of doing this. Nice and simple way, just slice them into rings. Perfectly well, nice little rings. There is another way. It works well, it kind of helps open up the sauces to create those little kind of sort of sections where they're all crisscrossed. Helps up get the sauce into it. To do that, you just want to cut them in half, lay it flat on the board, chop off the little tail piece, and then we make a crisscross pattern on the inside, not letting our knife go through the squid. So you use the weight of the knife just to cut these nice little crisscross patterns into the top. And then we're going to cut that up into sections. There's absolutely no kind of, you got to get them exactly the same size. It doesn't matter. They'll all curl up when they get into the pan. So just do one more there. Just nice and quick. Boom. And then we'll chop you into a couple of bits. As rough or as symmetrical as you like. Okay, so that's our squid all done. Let's move that to the side there. And last thing to chop is our parsley. So I've got a good handful here. What I'm going to do is take off the really thick ends of the stalk. There's nothing wrong with the stalk. Tastes fine. So just these real woody end bits. And then we're going to give that a chop through. Okay, that's everything prepped. So now what we're doing, we're waiting on the squid, not the squid, stew, Provencal thing, to simmer down a bit more, just till it gets to that soup-like consistency. And then we'll add in the last bits. Okay, so that's now been simmering away for another 10 minutes while we prep the squid. What we're at now is a kind of position where there's still liquid in there, but if you can drag your spatula across the bottom, it takes a little while for that liquid to come back in. So you've got a much more sort of stewy, soupy consistency, which is exactly what we want. So at this point, we're right at the end. We're going to add in our squid, like so. All our chopped parsley. Like I say, there's a good, real good handful there. And alongside that, we're going to add a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Just deepens up that tomato sauce a bit. With this, it's all up to you. If you like more balsamic vinegar, put it in. So I've got a friend that would probably have this 50-50. She's so obsessed with balsamic vinegar. But for me, 1 tablespoon is enough. It doesn't dominate then. So give that a big stir around. There you go, all nicely evened out. And what you'll see is, depending on how you did it, the squid rings will start to become sort of less translucent and more opaque. And if you've cut it up into the kind of curls, it will start to fold in on itself, and you'll have all of those like little square bits poking out the sides, which will hold quite a lot of the juice. So all we want to do is cook this for 2 minutes. Any more than that and you just end up with rubberized squid, especially when you're using frozen. Yeah, it doesn't need a lot. So do that for 2 minutes, plate it up, and we're good to go. Okay, so that's your 2 minutes up. Just going to give it a quick taste. See if it needs any more salt or pepper. No, that's fine. That's great. Okay, so that's all simmered off nicely. Move it all to one side and plate up. And here we have it. So I'm having this with my flatbreads from the other thing. So we've got our Squid Provencal. Beautiful with the flatbreads. They're on the website and on the YouTube. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a go. I'm loving it. And now I'm just off to go and enjoy it. So cheers. See you soon.